please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we call the roll, please?
Augustinelli.
Here.
Barsha.
Here.
Dool.
Here.
McCumber. Here. Schmuckel.
Here.
McManus. Here. Corn.
Here. All present and accounted for. Item 1 on the agenda is public comment. If there's any member of the public who would care to speak, please come to the lectern, and if you'd be so kind as to give us your name and address.
Yes. Hello, my name's Michelle Howard. I live at 435 West 11th Street, and I am here as the director of the Traverse Area District Library. I'm just here tonight because on the August 6th ballot is the library's millage. So I'm just here to tell you some factual information about the millage. We did send some information. I don't know if it ended up in your packet sometime in the last month, but there's lots of information on our website. So I also have my marketing manager, Heather Brady, is going to do a little show and tell of some of the stuff we have at the library if you haven't been there in a while. But basically, we are 6 locations. We kind of say 6.5, depending on when you got here. You might have seen our half location in the parking lot. It's our bookmobile, and we use that to get out to the places where people can't get to us. So you'll see us at various civic functions and parades, doing lots of different things, and and everything works under one library card. And that's the really great part about being a district is we all pool our resources, and what you'll see when you go to our different locations is that we all try to meet the needs of our community, and you'll see that sometimes in really vastly different ways. For example, Kingsley, if you've been out there, they actually have the original first Adams Fly, and they have the Adams Fly Festival out there. Interlaken has a professional kitchen, and they teach cooking classes all the time. Peninsula has a really great relationship with the University of Michigan, and so they bring in experts to do health talks all the time. East Bay has got a great relationship with East Bay Township, and they started, we did story times in the East Bay Library, and we outgrew it, and so then we went to the Township Hall, and then we outgrew that, so now we have 2 story times at East Bay, and they do grief counseling, they have an ice cream social. So you'll see all of our locations kind of just try to meet the needs of the community with them being supported by the main library. Fife Lake also is actually the library for the schools. So the school got rid of their librarians, and Fife Lake Public Library librarians stepped in and provide library services all year to those students. So we do lots of things also together. We all share common internet resources like test taking, ASVAB, GRE, what is it? I can't even remember all the letters of all the tests that you can take, the kids' tests, the SAT. We have all those resources. At the main library every year on Veterans Day, we have a free will for veterans. Any veteran can walk in and get a will made by some lawyers. We have 3D printers. I don't know if we brought any of our 3D printing stuff, but we had a person come in that broke a part of their boat, and so it'd be really hard to CAD design that. So what we did is we got a 3D scanner, and we scanned it in, and it went to the printer, and so it made an exact replica. So you can 3D scan and 3D print at the library. And we all do this all at about a 260% 4% return on your investment based on what we collect in millage funds. We send back 3 times the amount into the community based on our circulation and the number of resources people use in the library. So they're our patrons, they're your constituents, and I think we all work really well together to meet their needs, whether it's fun or educational, and we're there for them. So I know it's public comment, but if you have any questions, you can contact me. I think you have my information, or you can go on the library webpage, and I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment today? Okay. We'll move on to review and approval of the agenda and statements of conflict of interest. Do we have any conflicted individuals today?
Yep. I just think a conflict with 7A, like I stated before.
Yep.
I don't feel like I need to exit the room because, this meeting is recorded, so people can see what was discussed. I just won't engage in the conversation. And all the materials are available on our website, right?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the agenda. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We have an agenda. Next is the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. We have minutes, June 11th, 2024, regular meeting, recommend approval. Bills, general fund, $144,405.39, recommend approval. Gordy Frazier, Developers Escrow Fund, Stormwater Reviews, Sidewalk Assessment, Utility Plan Review, Oversight, and Closeout, $10,801. General Utilities, $17,090. Park Funds, DNR Trust Fund, $1,620, totaling $29,511. Recommend approval. Consideration of Eagle View Water Main Extension, closeout, and turnover documents. Recommend approval. Consideration of Elmer's application for payment number 2 for Stone Ridge PRV. Recommend approval.
Is there any member of the board who would like to remove anything from the consent calendar for discussion? Any member of the public or staff? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the consent calendar as presented. Any questions or comments? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Arshaff?
Yes.
Schmuckel?
Yes.
Dool?
Yes.
Augustinelli?
Yes.
McCumber?
Yes.
McManus, yes. Corn?
Yes. Good. The next item is items removed from the consent calendar, and there are none. Correspondence. We have a startling lack of correspondence today. So we'll move right on to reports. The County Commissioners Report.
Hi, Lauren Flynn, County Commissioner, District 2.
Brad Jewett, District 4.
I'm just going to have what I wrote down. Since we've seen you, we've only had a special meeting where we just discussed the approval of the migration of the Tyler Technologies public safety software to cloud-hosted environment, which desperately helped us through Cherry Fest, which I was not here. I just got back from Europe yesterday, so I'm a little... but I know that it was great and it was much needed to get us through the safety of Cherry Fest, so I'm very happy that we approved that. We also approved moving forward with an intergovernmental agreement between Leelanau and Benzie counties to create a regional materials management plan, so that will be coming down the pipes. But that's all really that's happened since we've seen you last, and we will be having another special meeting tomorrow. I believe it's been approved, correct?
That is correct.
And then we'll be on our regular business next week.
So the special meeting tomorrow is to approve a couple software security upgrades that actually expire on the 11th and everything. So we want to make sure we can get them approved prior to that happening. And also to approve the administrator's contract, which actually expired on June 30th. And, back when we had his review and everything, it totally slipped everybody's mind to renew the contract, so we need to get that done too. Also, recently, the Grand Traverse Pavilions Ad Hoc Committee has reported that operations are in the black, and they have a healthy cash reserve there now. Their census numbers are coming up, and their star rating will take a while for that to come up just because how ratings go, so that could probably take a couple, 3 years before we see that coming back up, but it appears everything is on the right track there now, so that's really good news for our community and everything. Also, the Hospital Finance Authority met the middle of last month, I think it was, about, and they did approve refinancing with the help of the county, $52 million with the hospital, and that's expected to save them about $10 million over the course of the various projects they got going on and everything, so. And then we're continually working on the facilities master plan. I do believe that that committee meets on the 18th, so that's next week sometime. Things got a little bit paused there with the cyber incident and everything, so, but hopefully we get that back on track and we can get a recommendation in front of us for moving forward on what we have on the plate right now for upgrades and everything, so. Any questions?
Molly?
Just clarification, I guess I didn't hear. Your intergovernmental agreement that's going on with Leelanau, what is that for?
Regional management, waste.
Waste management. Yep.
Waste
Oh,
management.
waste management.
Yep,
That's with Leelanau and Benzie County.
yep. And so we had to send a letter of intent with Eagle and the environmental committee to make sure that the state knows that we're planning to do that.
Are you thinking about consolidating?
The three of us, yeah, the three counties creating a regional plan.
Yep. There's nothing that has been approved yet, it's just in the works, basically, is what it is. But we do believe between the communications with the other counties that we will come up with a tri-county, for lack of better words, plan for waste.
Are you thinking about one hauler, or are you thinking about?
I think it's a full plan of lots of different.
There's a lot of
Waste.
different things. I mean, a lot of it focuses around the materials, like hazardous materials, especially that travel through our area. So it's not so much in regards to waste as in garbage. It's what could be potential waste by what is trucked in and what is trucked out, in regards to like chemicals or hazardous things like that and everything, so.
Great, thanks.
So at this point in time, we have no resource recovery official?
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, I think multiple counties in the regional plan have lost theirs.
We do have plans through the LEPC committee and everything, which is the Local Emergency Planning Committee and everything. So there are plans in place, just trying to become a broader plan to get more entities involved, because what we're finding out is a lot of these waste or hazards that come in and out of our community and stuff are really right on the outskirts of Grand Traverse County. They might be just in Benzie County or just in Antrim County or just in Leelanau County. So we're trying to take a regional approach to that and everything to try to get the entities all working together so we can have a better response if there needs to be a response.
But yes, as a person hired in the position, there are two counties without that person in position.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have hazardous waste disposal areas in Grand Traverse, Leelanau, or Benzie? Or is it just household garbage?
Not that I recall, but I can check into that to make sure, but I don't recall as having one in our region.
Just caught when you said hazardous waste hauled in and from.
Yeah,
That's
so
what I
like-
thought. If they're hauling it in, where are they taking it? Because I don't know of any.
Well, if you look at like even some of our, just say fruit processors, they have hazardous chemicals and things on site and everything, and they have them in the volumes
Hauled in
that
for
that
use.
meet
Okay.
certain requirements and everything to monitor and everything like that. So it's not something that everybody has and stuff, but is what triggers a lot of this hazard type stuff is the volume, so. But as this unfolds and everything, and we get more information, because it's really new to us too, at many levels and stuff, we'll keep you guys informed on that and see, so. But it's just trying to take more of a regional approach, so if we do have an incident, we can have a
Yep.
regional reaction to it instead of just an entity from here driving 50 miles there to take care of it or something, so.
And that guy sitting back there in the white probably has input into hazardous waste if it happens too.
So as it all unfolds, I mean, it's not just a county approach, but like you said, we're going to include people like the chiefs and different stuff like that they're hands-on with a lot of this stuff, so. But again, like I said, it's quite premature. It's just the initial conversation is taking place, and as we have more information and it develops, we'll definitely fill you guys in.
Any other questions for our commissioners?
Great.
Thank
Like
you.
always, our contact information is on the website, and I'm going to buzz out to Blair and see them guys.
And I'm very jealous of the caffeine drinks, so I'm going to not stay the whole meeting tonight.
week. Jet lag?
Just a little.
Next is the sheriff's report, and I think we have no sheriff's rep.
And we don't have a report either.
So we'll skip right on to the Grand Traverse Metro Fire Report.
Okay, good evening. We'll start with, you should have copies of the incident reports, starting with the Garfield Metro NFIRS report for June of 2024. As you can see, numbers for Garfield in terms of medical assisting EMS crews, we're at 239 for the month for Garfield, 334 for Metro as a whole. As we kind of move down from there, the dispatched and canceled en route was our next highest at 28 and 41. Other emergency medical service calls, 28 and 49, and then just kind of move down. Motor vehicle accidents, 9 and 14. There's a couple other. That seems to be something of interest lately. I know there's been a couple news articles about increases in the area. I think potentially the city and some other jurisdictions have seen some significant increases. We're just seeing what are our normal seasonal increases with motor vehicle accidents and pedestrians being involved. So if that changes for next month, I'll be sure to mention that. If you look at the total at the bottom of the report, totals for Garfield Township 346 and total for Metro as a whole at 512. Moving on to the next page, our Grand Traverse Metro incidents by station for the month. Again, that total of 512. 20% of those calls were from Station 12 here in Garfield, 27% from Station 1 East Bay. Station 11 had 30%, the highest. Station 9 at 7%, and Station 8 at 15%. If you look at our incidents from a total, Garfield with 68% at 346 calls, East Bay 93 calls at 18%, Acme following up at 67 calls for 13%, and then of course we had just a percent of calls that we responded out of the area to other jurisdictions. Next page of the incident reports are our EMS complaints and priorities. Again, falls being one of our highest call type in regards to EMS. Again, we try to work to educate seniors on fall protection through our public education. Those totals for Garfield were 55. On the following page, you'll see total for that type for all of Metro was 77, so a large percentage of those. Working down the next highest types of calls are invalid assist, lift assist, people that fall, people who can't get up, general weakness, and then cardiac issues and altered levels of consciousness. Following that, again, then we have our vehicle accidents. You'll see the types there. We have vehicle accident. There's a couple other ones that come into play that bring us back up to that total. So again, total EMS complaints for June, 319 in Garfield for a total of 456 for all of Metro. Couple statistics that weren't on those reports because they're recent. Yesterday afternoon at 15:16 in the afternoon, we did have a residential kitchen fire at 1900 Penbrook Drive. That's in southern East Bay Township. And then early this morning at 920 Boone Street, we had a residential bathroom fire in Garfield here. Appears that it's still under investigation, but appears that it was caused by a bathroom fan, some sort of malfunction. But we'll have the final report probably within the next few days. Other items of interest, on July 5th, we did receive notification of a 2% grant award from the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians in the amount of $14,215.75. This was to purchase a new Lucas CPR device. we put in for this grant because this was one of our devices that became inoperable this March. It kind of aged out, had some other problems, looked to get it fixed, but the cost to repair it was just too high. So again, it was just something we didn't plan for, so we submitted for the grant. We were very pleased to be awarded and that grant. Additionally, we're also reviewing application process for a firehouse subs grant to potentially replace another Lucas device that's nearing its service expiration. Our budget, our draft budget was approved by our finance committee and is pending final approval by our board at our meeting this month. If so approved, it would be brought to you in August for approval. Assistant Chief Posey and I attended the pre-construction meeting for the Veterans Drive reconstruction project. Relevant to our operations were the intermittent access during the project. Essentially, they're going to shut it all down completely, but at some points in the project, they're going to get gravel down. So we could have some intermittent access. Lightweight vehicles get through to other areas. Communication of the status of that is something that was a concern to us, and then just our overall response adjustments. So during the project, there's going to be communication between the project manager, our assistant chief of operations, and the 911 setter. So we'll always kind of know when that's available. We intend to modify our responses anywhere around that. Where our station 12 can get to quicker, we're going to change that response in the CAD so that they'll immediately be notified. So shouldn't be any delays, service delays, or anything to our residents while that project's ongoing. We also received an update from Pierce on the new engine that's being built for us, informing us that the build's on schedule for a mid-August completion. We were also provided some progress photos showing that the cab has been fabricated, painted, so it's starting to look good. There's still a lot of finished components, as well as the frame construction, which is starting to resemble a chassis. So I'm sure even now as I speak, it's much further along. Additionally, administrative members are going to be conducting training on our new accounting suite. That's Oracle for Government. That's going to be taking place next week, so we're anticipating getting that online. Also in training, our annual skills testing were completed last week. The training consists of emergency scenarios that replicate fire incidents and all the associated tasks that are required. Our crews respond to a location with full gear on. They don their air packs. They'll stretch and deploy hose lines. They'll conduct forcible entry drills, throw ladders. They'll also conduct search and rescue where they'll remove some training mannequins there. So again, we're putting all these training skills together and just kind of letting it all run like a dress rehearsal, if you will. We do that on an annual basis, and we do also do it on more frequently, but it's an overall evaluation by our training officers. So that went well. We're very happy with that. Another point of interest from our fire prevention staff, they did report that there's been some significant progress on the Meadow Valley Assisted Living development on North Long Lake Road. The developer probably will be requesting occupancy permits for portions of that real soon, so they did mention that was moving along. Following the county cyber incident that the commissioners reported on, we do have full CAD and access and mobility function for mobile CAD. We are only awaiting the reestablishment of a couple of our integrations, such as our records management system that ties to the CAD, and then we have a BRICS notification system. Those applications aren't fully online yet, and that's because there was an in-house CAD before. Now it's a hosted, cloud-based CAD. These are hosted programs, so they're working with Tyler Technologies and their staff to try and get these things synced together. But again, CAD is working. We have that. We have mobile CAD in our vehicles, so it's not hindering operations. It's just creating some additional steps. We're very used to getting all that CAD information just put right into our records management, makes reporting easier and things like that. So just, I guess, a minor inconvenience at this point. That is all I have to report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, Chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Okay,
Nice
thank
work
you.
on the grant.
All right, thank you.
Right, item D is the Dennis Gartland and Nygarth Auditors Report.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Trina Oakes from Dennis Gartland and Nygarth, and I'm here tonight to go over summary results for the December 31st, 2023 audit. So you should have two items in front of you, the bound audit report, which is the larger book, and then the audit-related communications letter. So we'll start in the book on page 3, which is the independent auditor's report. So the financial statements are the responsibility of management of the township, and then our responsibility as auditors is to issue an opinion. And we did, again, this year issue a unmodified or a clean audit opinion, so that's the highest level of assurance that we can provide you as auditors. And then we're going to go back a few pages to the management discussion and analysis on page 6. This management discussion and analysis is a short summary of the financial results for the year. So we'll just go over some highlights. In the financial highlights there, the assets exceeded the liabilities at the end of the fiscal year by $73.1 million. Of that, $36.2 million may be used to meet the ongoing obligations of the township. The governmental funds reported a combined ending fund balance of $13.9 million, which is an increase of $1.4 million. And 83% of the total, or $11.5 million, is available for spending. At the end of the current fiscal year, the unassigned fund balance in the general fund was $11.5 million, or 296% of the general fund expenditures. And then on page 8, a couple pages back, this is a summary of the statement of financial position, or the balance sheet of the township. It's broken down between governmental activities and business type activities. So the business type activities is basically the sewer and water fund of the township, and all the other activities are in governmental activities. So as we look at the totals here for 2023, the total assets were $82.4 million. That's up about $5 million from 2022. The capital assets is $34.9 million of that total, so that's invested in buildings and equipment and other items. The township did add $1.8 million in additions this year related to some water improvements as well as some park improvements. And those water improvements were funded in part by a state grant. Total liabilities were $3.6 million. Those were up just slightly from 2022. Deferred inflows of resources were $5.7 million, and that's basically the December tax roll that goes out, and that goes into revenue in the next fiscal year. And then the net position was $73.1 million. That is also up $4.2 million. Invested in capital assets is $35 million. $1.7 million is restricted. About half of that, or about $950,000, is restricted for the fire fund. And then other restrictions are for public improvements, budget stabilization, and other special revenue categories. The township has also designated $10.3 million for sewer and water operations and maintenance and replacement. And then the remaining balance of $25.9 million is undesignated and available for use. And on the next page, page 9, this shows the revenues and expenses for 2023. So total revenues were $17.7 million. That's up about $5.7 million. One of the biggest swings there is the investment earnings, because the market came back in 2023 compared to 2022. And state grants is up to $2.2 million. That does include that state grant for those water improvements. Under expenses, total expenses were $12.4 million. Those are up about $800,000. The bulk of those expenses were in public works. So the change in net position for the year was $5.3 million, and the ending net position was $73.1 million. From there, I'm going to have you turn all the way back to page 30. Just to point out, note B here, prior period restatement. We did accrue the December 2022 capacity lease back to 2022, so it was expensed in 2023, and we posted that back to 2022, so it was in the proper period. And then from here, if we move back to page 41, let's just take a quick look at your general fund and fire fund budget to actual. So the schedule on page 41 shows the original adopted budget, the amended budget, and then the actual basis. So for the general fund, the township budgeted $5,028,000 in revenue and came in at $5,580,000. So better than budget by $550,000. And then for expenses, the township budgeted $4.4 million and came in at $3.9 million. So that is also better than budget by $555,000. So for the year, the township was anticipating a use of fund balance of $51,163 and actually came in with net income of $1,055,000. So that's all within the Budget Act of the state of Michigan. And then page 42 is the same schedule for the fire fund. The township budgeted for the year $2.6 million in revenue and came in at $2.8 million. And then expenses were budgeted at $2.8 and came in at $2.7. So overall for the year, the township was anticipating a net loss of $153,000 and came in at net revenue of $261,000. So again, all within the budget. There is also a separate audit-related communication letter, which has those informational items that we report every year to those charged with governance. The first page talks about internal controls, which is really your policies and procedures at the township. And page 2 has one item that we report each year, the preparation of the financial statements. So the accounting standards requires that the township management prepare the audited financial statements and all of the disclosures. In reality, we prepare these for you. As part of that process, we ask that the township review all of the audit adjustments, the draft financial statements, and ensure that they agree with their records and that they are correct. So that allows us to be independent to issue an opinion on the financial statements. In the center of the page, the insurance and benefit expenditures informational item. So the township did update the chart of accounts this year, which was a project. It was required by the state of Michigan. As part of that, the state is requiring that benefits and insurance be allocated to the individual departments. That was not done in 2023. We're recommending it be done in 2024, and it's already actually been done in 2024. It was budgeted that way and is getting posted that way to the departments, so that's already been fixed. Under the qualitative aspects of accounting practices, there was a new accounting standard for subscription-based technology arrangements, which is multi-year computer consulting arrangements. We did look at those agreements, but nothing met the requirements to be recorded under that. Everything was recorded in the proper period. No transactions where there wasn't guidance on how to record them. On the top of page 3, there are estimates inherent in the financial statements. The items listed here: leases receivable, depreciation, collectability of receivables. We did look at all those and found that they were recorded appropriately. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. Under the corrected adjustments, the largest adjustment we usually post is for the depreciation expense because we help the township maintain that depreciation schedule with our software. You'll see some adjustments to fund balance, which relates to the 2022 audit adjustments, which were posted but then were lost with the upgrade to the new chart of accounts when that was implemented. So we helped correct those balances.
Thank you.
On page 4, there were no disagreements with management, no consultations with other accountants. On the bottom of the page, some new standards coming out in 2024 for the township. The first is accounting changes and error corrections, and this just dictates how you report those items in your financial statements if they are to occur. And page 5 is related to compensated absences, which the current standards require that you accrue paid time off if it's paid out when people leave the employment of the township. And this standard requires that you accrue it if it will be paid even prior to a person leaving employment of the township. So because your personal time is all settled at the end of the year, your vacation time is accrued, we don't see this changing any of the accruals for the township. And then finally, under other matters, it talks about the management's discussion and analysis, budgetary comparison information, financial statements of the non-major funds. So we did compare those to all the underlying records and found that everything was in agreement. And with that, I'll ask if there's any questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina.
Next is the Planning Department report.
Good evening. The Planning Department report's in your packet. Just a couple items just want to point out. There are now tracking the administrative reviews that the Planning Department does. Those kind of start at the bottom of the report. And then in terms of the Planning Commission, we're working on some issues related to implementation or anticipation of the approval of the master plan later this evening. We've kind of already started conversations related to some changes to the R3 zoning district, updating the sign regulations section, and addressing vacation home rentals or short-term rentals in response to potential legislation coming from the state of Michigan in that regard. So those conversations are going on right now with the Planning Commission. So that's all I have to report.
I have a question, John. I have not seen any building behind Beta as far as their housing.
Well, they've started clearing the land out there. There's land balancing going out there and timbering and that type of thing. I haven't
That's
been
been
out
going
there.
on for a while.
Right.
I
So,
drive by it all the time, and there's nothing changed probably in the past month.
well, that's new. I mean, they're prepping the site. They are expected, I think they're supposed to break ground, I believe, next week.
Okay.
The groundbreaking actually took place about a week ago.
Oh, okay.
The part you were seeing before was the
Parking lot.
transfer station for bus people. That's a Beta project as opposed to housing.
Okay. Yeah, but I was wondering when the housing was going to start.
They are,
So are we.
Yeah.
started now, they're digging.
Is it, correct me if I am wrong, but until they start that, they can't open the Beta station, correct?
It is until they are given a certificate of occupancy based upon.
Okay.
At what point do we consider it started? Footings in?
Vertical walls.
There's some
Vertical walls
language in the agreement that speaks to it specifically, but at the end of the day, I think the board makes that decision.
Okay.
Okay. This board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the way the approval was for that PUD is, it's up to the township board to make that decision.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for John?
No, thank you. Thanks.
The Parks and Rec report is in writing. And the clerk's report.
Is also in writing. And we're getting ballots coming in daily, sending ballots out daily, answering a lot of phone calls about elections. It's election time. I did 2 election inspector trainings already this week, one yesterday morning, one this afternoon for election inspectors, and I'll be getting my precincts all lined up and ready to go.
Any questions for Laney? The supervisor's report is there's a lot of water and sewer stuff the last few weeks. But we got through most of it, and it's all going well. A little more tonight. And that brings us to unfinished business. And item A is consideration of recruiting documents for the township manager position.
Good evening, happy to be here. I have a few goals for my time with you tonight. One is to confirm the salary range. Another goal is to confirm the interview dates and get those on the schedule. Third goal is to make any edits to the job posting or other documents that I provided. I did note the additional or proposed job description that was sent out, and so I'm happy to replace the job description with the one that was proposed, and then make some changes to the job posting and the recruitment brochure, to pull some highlights from that document, but then also to post the full document online and link the brochure and the posting to that full document. But happy to make any additional edits and changes to the documents that I provided. And most importantly, to answer any questions that anyone has about the process going forward.
Steve?
One quick thing, and maybe
Yes.
I didn't miss it. We had the original description, and then we had the second one, let's just call it, that came through.
Correct.
And the first one had listed an item for the manager under economic development, and I didn't see that brought over into the new document. And I'm thinking that's something that maybe should have, and maybe I missed the verbiage in the new one.
And I also want to clarify, there were two, I provided a kind of a draft job description, which is the really detailed document that's more of an internal-facing document, and a new job description was provided. And then I also created a job posting, which is more marketing-focused as well. So again, it's kind of confusing with all the documents, but there's a job posting and two proposed job descriptions.
Yeah, I don't think we want to have two. We would like to have one. And there was some concern that the initial description,
Is this the initial?
the initial one is
Is that the one in the packet? This is the one?
7A.
Okay, and this is the new one?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So the new one has a lot more detail
Right.
that we felt it was more comprehensive, and if there's an expectation that those duties are there, obviously they'll have staff who will carry out a lot of those duties and they'll oversee it, but there's a responsibility there that we would be happy that they're aware. I think Chloe worked with me on that one quite a bit. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to make sure that there's certain statutory duties that we took away from the supervisor, and I wanted to make sure that they were in the job description.
Right.
And not assigned to anybody. So, so yeah, I just made sure to, the A through O is, those from MCL 42.10 are all included in here, and then we just, I don't know, I wanted to add more detail. So this is a new job. This is our opportunity to kind of spell out to this person what we want and, set our expectations high, I think. So anything you guys want to add to it, like Steve said, something about economic development you want to add to it?
Yeah, they
we
had
should
it
add?
worded in here, and economic development is desirable, and that was under preferred requirements.
Okay, so you want to add that to like the knowledge, skills, and abilities? Oh, it does say here, considerable knowledge, principles, and practices of public administration and of relevant economics. But we could add, you want them to have economic development? I guess
Well,
that's more like.
That's
yeah.
just me, it's not what I want, I'm just bringing up what I saw missed, so it's however somebody,
Right.
I know like you and I talked, John's aware of it, we have that opportunity zone, and that's something that could be pushed for development within that in our township, and part of that's in the city too. I look at that as part of Garfield's economic development, where PUDs and developments go in is part of economic development. It's a huge item when you say that word.
Right. But I think, again, I think there's responsibility there for the manager, and it wouldn't hurt to mention it.
Yeah.
We could do of relevant economics and economic development within the township, or something like that.
What page are you looking at, Steve?
What page are we on, Chloe?
Or
It's not
Under-
numbered, it's the second to the last page of the new one. And
knowledge,
it's
skills,
right
and
un-
abilities.
Yep, right
Oh,
under
okay.
knowledge, skills, and ability, the first one. We could just do and economic development within the township.
Okay.
I don't know if that works for everybody.
I'd be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I would be too.
That's fine.
And I can add a bullet to the job posting. Under experience with the following subject matter areas, I can also add a bullet for economic development. And I can add that to the talent rubric criteria list. In terms of ideal qualities would be economic development. So I can run that through those other areas as well.
Okay, I have a problem with the authority to appoint, discipline, and suspend all employees. That's usually done by a committee and brought to the board to suspend employees.
I thought the same thing.
I don't
and that
like
is-
to
That
give-
is the way we have always done it, but it is extremely awkward.
Well, it is, but I don't want to give one person the authority to do that.
Which page are you looking at?
Second page.
Second
Thank you.
page, first bullet in the middle.
So, yeah.
I don't approve of that.
It's not firing, I think it's,
Suspending and disciplining.
yeah, I think like, but yeah, we can change it to say, you know, that needs to be approved with board approval.
Well, it could go to a committee
Yeah, or the
because
committee.
if one person has an issue with somebody else, it could get, I don't want a dictator.
Right.
I'll just say it.
Yeah. So there's a balance between micromanaging and
Yeah.
Right.
and just oversight, so maybe if we included language about the personnel committee.
Right, I was just gonna say the same thing. We had the-
Maybe authority to call the personnel committee together for appointment, evaluation, discipline.
I like that better.
Yep.
Thank you.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
To contact the personnel committee?
Authority to call the
Okay.
personnel committee together.
Or convene the convene.
Yeah, to
the-
convene the personnel committee, and then you go back into it to appoint, evaluate, discipline, whatever.
Yes.
I like that,
Yeah,
Lainey.
that's good feedback. I mean, we don't really know how much power we want to give to this person yet, you know, because it's new, so I think that's a great idea.
And under knowledge and skills, going from the, let's call it the original, to the new one. I'm not going to call it old because we don't know what's what yet. They're involved with the engineer, but if they have familiarity and experience with sewer and water, that's huge.
Yes, it is.
So that's a big bullet point for me, that the person we get has experience and knowledge in sewer and water, because, I mean, you've got pumps and lines and tanks and you gotta have, I mean, we can rely on Jennifer a ton, but I think Jennifer would like it if somebody had some knowledge of that category.
It took her a long time to break me in.
I've dabbled with it in the building trades, and it's still, there's so much. I mean, she's a level way beyond what we do as residential.
So where would you put that in?
Knowledge, skills, and abilities?
Well, I would say preferably, but you can't, that's something that's going to be kind of a niche, don't you think?
Yeah, and
It's-
I think I don't think it is a requirement as much as it is a desired.
A preferred.
Right, or
A preferred experience or something, yeah, because you always are talking about sewer and water.
I had no idea how much it would involve when I came in here.
Well, and we're a huge growing township, and that's the biggest infrastructure we have,
Yep.
next to power lines. and that's not us.
We don't own those. Huh?
No.
And
So I don't know where to put it. Where,
sewer and water is included in the job posting and the criteria list right now. So I think, changing it to the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and again, I'm deferring the final accurate job description to the township. So once these edits are made, I'll definitely post it, and this is, again, it's so good to have a really detailed document so that you're on the same page with that person. So this is great that you're going through all this.
Good. So we'll include some language about the preference.
Yeah, and we're definitely focused on that, on the recruiting side.
So I guess, is the board comfortable with the alternate job description versus the original one?
Yes, very much so.
With those edits? Okay.
Those edits.
So I can make the edits and send them to you.
Thank you.
And then if you would, I do like the idea of maybe incorporating a little bit more into the posting from this new job description.
Yes, I'll take some highlights from that and then link to the full posting.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And then you talked something about the compensation range.
Yes.
I mean, I saw the 120 to 150. To me, that amount paid would be based on their knowledge and experience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If they're like super good and they've done this for 10 years and they can just drop over and run, they're up at the top. If they've got things to learn in that, they're down at the bottom.
Correct.
In the range, at least my opinion would be of that. But I don't think that range is bad.
Because I do need a range so that, because some candidates do have particular expectations, and if they're not in the same ballpark as what the township is, I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
And that is the first question that highly qualified candidates will ask, is what is the range? And so it's definitely a negotiation. I don't want to take any of that power away from you all, but I also just trying to be efficient and get alignment on that compensation range.
Was that the range we were talking about originally?
I believe it was a little less than that, but
We were 130 to 140, and this was 120 to 150. To me,
Yeah.
it covered what we talked about.
yeah.
So the range you have printed in here, you're questioning if that's good?
Yeah, just confirming. We did run compensation reports and looked at some salary survey data of what other communities are paying, and felt comfortable with this range, but again, we wanted to make sure you were comfortable so that I was not on the same page.
If that's what your studies found, I'm comfortable with it, honestly. I don't know. I mean, if you studied it and that's what you're finding, I'm comfortable with that.
I'm pretty comfortable with it, too. Were you looking at communities in Michigan, in northern Michigan, or were you looking like all over the state, down southern Michigan?
When the compensation reports that we ran were for the region here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, anecdotally, looking at other townships that we've worked in, we do have our own kind of salary and compensation database that we looked at, and felt comfortable in our conversations with other qualified applicants, what they're looking for.
I'm okay
So-
with that range.
Good, I'm okay.
Are there any objections?
Nope.
All right.
And then the interview date, she said?
Yes,
Applications are due by August 11th, correct?
correct. I put a draft timeline in the document. So the posting would close on Sunday, the 11th. It'll take us another week to finalize assessing the candidates, and then we would provide you all links to a lot of information on Friday, the 16th. We will include a portal where you can view the resume, survey responses, phone interview transcripts, a link to a video interview, documents that contain reference checks and background checks. So we like to allow you, a week or so, multiple days to be able to review all that information prior to, and then the plan would be to just have a disclosed session to review the candidates on Tuesday, August 27th, since you have a board meeting, I believe, scheduled for that day. So that could be convenient. And then after that, we could do interviews as early as like Thursday, September 5th or 6th. That would give us a week to finalize arrangements with the candidates. We would promote to the candidates right away what the schedule is, so they could kind of pencil in those dates, and then they would have a week to finalize arrangements, or it could be later than that. I just wouldn't want to be any earlier than that.
So you're talking the 5th and 6th for interviews of September?
Yeah, the 5th or 6th.
Okay.
I mean, usually, it usually works out well to do it on one day. We generally like to do kind of a staff panel as well as the board panel. The board panel would be a public meeting. And then the staff panel could go on at the same day. Then we would consolidate that feedback, provide it to you all for your next meeting. So then, like, usually the following Tuesday would work if,
That's, because our meeting is on the 10th.
yeah. Yeah, so then on the 10th, you would be able to deliberate in open session about that, about next steps.
So on Friday, August 16th, you got candidate information to selection team. Who's the selection team?
So that would be you all, the board, sorry.
All of us.
The whole board.
The whole board.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a question real quick. So when you link to the candidate, well, so I guess how many candidates do you do this information dump with the phone interviews? Like, how do you select those? Just the top 10, or how does that work?
We strive to have 7 to 10 candidates.
Okay.
That are qualified based on the criteria that you've discussed, that we've kind of boiled down here. If we have additional candidates that we feel meet the qualifications, we'd rather have you do it, but we know that it can get overwhelming. We want you to have choices and options.
Okay. So then we help narrow it down to a smaller, just giving feedback from the 7 to 10 that would actually interview at a board meeting?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And so usually I ask
That's in closed session.
board members to come to the meeting, the closed session meeting, with a list of candidates that they are interested in pursuing and a list of candidates that they are not interested in pursuing. We kind of, kind of combine that information. And usually there's a group of candidates that are, highly interested in, almost unanimously interested in moving forward. Usually a group that was like, okay, I've seen enough and I'm good. And then there's a few, kind of candidates that are on the bubble, and most of the discussion takes place there, determining on how many candidates, you want to bring in and the like. But
For the first round of interviews. then.
yep, for the first round of interviews. And then after the first round of interviews, we would have an open discussion in public where we would decide. Usually there's kind of 3 choices. One, you can decide to move forward with a candidate. Number 2, we go back to the drawing board. Number 3, we have additional interviews with one or more candidates.
I guess my last question is, and maybe Chuck would know, can we go into closed session to discuss candidates?
We can.
They don't have to request it?
The final decision has to be made in public.
Okay. I just was clarifying that because.
Yeah, reviewing the candidate information is an allowable open meeting. It's an exception.
Okay.
But once they become candidates, then, and you decide to move them forward, then the interviews need to be in public and the deliberations need to be in public.
Okay.
I think the timeline looks great. I know it's pushing it, but I'd like to have this township manager be able to sit down with you before you leave as township supervisor to be able to get some experience and information from him.
And it can take a month to relocate if somebody needs to put in notice. I mean, it can be 1 or more months of notice that can be required, and if there's relocation involved. So, yeah, that's why I do try to be aggressive. Also, oftentimes candidates are in the mix for multiple positions, and because it is public, it changes the dynamic. So I want to move quickly. We want to keep it moving and be efficient, and thorough. But also, I wouldn't want to lose candidates because they're in the mix for another community as well.
Steve?
Go with Molly first.
Will we know the candidate's timeline? For example, will we know if it's going to be 3 months before they can come and see us?
Before they could start
To work,
Yeah. We generally get an idea of that if they are, currently employed or what their agreements are, but we can definitely make sure that we find out their start date, availability in the process, and provide that in the summary that we would provide.
Thank you.
I guess one more thing that I was kind of wondering through this was, I kind of thought this might be like a contracted position where we actually have a contract with the individual is that what we're looking at doing for this too? Not just employing them, but creating a contract that expires after a certain amount of years and we can renew? I don't know what the pros and cons are of that, but do we need to decide that now?
I think the contract is pretty much a standard.
Yeah.
Right, that's kind of what I thought.
Situation.
And it's usually termed as an employment agreement. So they are an employee, they're getting a W-2, but they do have an agreement that would cover things such as severance pay, any additional perks, compensation, performance review. I have some examples of those as well that I can
Do you
share.
help us through that process when we get to it? Okay.
Yes, I'm not an attorney, but I have forms that have been done by attorneys that I'm happy to share and during the negotiations process also, happy to provide, I will provide assistance
Okay.
to that as well.
Maybe I missed it in here, same as like chief, he gets an annual review. Do we have it in here that this manager will be reviewed by the board annually?
That would be in the contract,
That would be in the contract.
or employee agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, employee agreement.
And then just an odd question. Our logo matches the Boardman Valley or Boardman Lake Quiet Area, the Brown Bridge Quiet Area. If you look at that picture,
What is it?
it's exactly matching the turn of the rivers in our logo. Did you guys by coincidence just do that, or? Because I looked at it and I thought, that's Brown Bridge Quiet Area, it's not even Garfield. And then I'm looking at the logo going, it's the same turns of the river. So kudos to you if that was coincidental, but that's pretty cool. Just an offline.
Did you know?
Interesting.
Is there anything that we need to do tonight, or just do we need to,
Just nod your head.
yeah?
So in terms of the interview date,
5th and 6th
Is-
of September?
do one of those, and you can pick one if you'd like, or I can, but I would like to, is everybody available for
6th,
both?
the township is closed.
Okay, so then Thursday, the 5th?
Yes.
Township's closed on Fridays,
Okay.
unless you want to do it on a Friday when they're
No.
closed. Huh?
No, I don't.
I'm gone somewhere in the middle of August for 8 days.
This is September, though.
No,
5th
I'm just
and
saying
6th.
during our timeline here, September, I'm here. Doesn't,
Well, the things are going to be emailed to us, so you can have access to your email to look at things.
where I'm going, no.
Okay.
But I think I'm here early September. I'm gone again the week end of September, but that's way at the end,
So
so.
I prefer before elections get way underway for November, so the beginning of September,
Yeah.
end of August, beginning of September are work best for me.
Well, she said on the 27th at our meeting, we would review the candidates then. And
That's fine.
then make that decision and then do the interviews on the 5th.
Yes.
Okay.
And what's the date that you're thinking everything is going to be posted so we can look at?
Friday, August 16th.
Okay.
Okay.
What, oh,
Yeah, so there'll be 11 days to review the documents.
By the end of the day tomorrow, the posting will be up, so you can look at the posting. Probably.
Okay, so I gotta get you this edit back like tonight.
Sure.
It won't be hard, but I'll email it to you.
Sure, thank you. Any other questions for me?
So that candidate review is going to happen during our township meeting, right? On the 27th?
Closed session.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure on my
Yep.
calendar. And then the interviews are going to be, the candidate interviews are going to be on September 5th.
Yep.
And we don't know what time, but I just want to put that on my calendar.
Do you have any, do you have flexibility for the full day? Well, we can talk a little bit more about the specific time during our meeting on the 27th as well. But if you could hold as much time as possible.
I just opened that clear.
on Thursday, the 5th?
The whole day.
Okay, great.
I'm retired now, so I can do that.
God bless you. Okay, we have a plan?
Perfect.
Timeline?
Sounds
Great,
great.
great.
Great job. Thank you
Amy.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where did she say August 16th is going to be on?
Assuming that's
August 16th is a Friday, but
No, it's happening on August 16th. Oh,
that would be the
information.
information team, the selection team, which would be the personnel committee, minus
All
Chris
right.
plus you.
Minus Chris plus me. Minus Chris plus me. Okay. So we would meet on the 16th.
Right.
Okay. I better put that on my calendar too, right?
Yes, I think you should.
Okay.
All right.
She introduced herself.
So we'll be able to look at everybody on August 16th, the rest of the board, and see those interviews and,
Yeah, I would think
No,
so.
she said the 27th. Well, no, that's 16th.
also to review
yeah.
candidates in closed session. But where are we going to have the time to look at what's online?
Starting August 16th, and she said, I think 11 days.
Starting the 16th?
Yeah, that's when she'll
Okay,
pull
so
the
it's-
information online.
The links to the candidate, okay.
It's not
But
just
we're
going to
meet
be
on
the
16th.
team
Right.
or the
Do you want me to just put
candidate
any time
selection
in?
committee. It's going to be all.
16th?
So you're sending that to all the board members except for one?
Unless there's somebody that's.
Except for one.
Yes.
And then I'm taking his place on the personnel committee.
Yeah.
I don't know, are we even meeting as a personnel committee, or are we just doing this all at the board level?
Kind of looks to me like we're reviewing 10 candidates, then we're going to meet in closed session, and we're going to decide, pick some, and
So, yeah.
Bon, is that the way you're thinking?
I'm thinking it would be at a board meeting. I would
Yeah, yeah.
He's got to have you up at the mic.
The full board.
Sorry about that.
Personnel will be looking at all of them first.
Yeah.
So I'm envisioning giving the information to all the board members unless there was a conflict, and that there would be a closed session discussion about the candidates.
But I think what we were talking about, if you get 25 candidates, the personnel committee would meet before then to dwindle it down.
I think they do that.
But you've already done that.
You've already done that?
Yeah, we would hope to get it down to the top 7 to 10 candidates is what we feel is a good number. Sometimes when we have a lot of amazing candidates, and we've had situations like that where there's been a tremendous number of candidates where, you know, sometimes another process makes sense. But in general, we try to, get it down to the top 7 to 10, which provides you all with good options, but isn't too overwhelming, so that we're doing our job of diligence.
So that's when the committee would come in, would be if there were more than 10 candidates. Yeah. That you,
Yeah, I feel comfortable in this search when I've done city manager, township manager types of searches, that 7 to 10 is a good number.
okay.
Again, sometimes there's the fire chief search that we did was a little bit unique. in terms of the number of highly qualified candidates. But for these types of positions, given the talent pool that has the qualifications that you're looking for, I feel that we'll end up with a reasonable number of candidates in the 7 to 10-ish range, so.
I guess we'd keep the date open for the 16th just in case, but
Okay.
likely we won't need it.
The deadline is the 11th, correct?
Yes.
So I would think maybe if you would want to keep something open between the 11th and the 16th, if it's more than 10 or something, then we could meet before then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will be providing you with weekly updates in terms of the number of applicants and the number of applicants that we are seriously considering, because we will get a few applicants that are not qualified and that we can make quick decisions about, and then there's other candidates that we're still reviewing, and we try to be very inclusive and consider candidates and move them forward until we get enough information. So that's why when you start seeing the updates from me, you'll see the numbers change a little bit as we get to know candidates more.
So you will be updating the whole board then?
Yes, unless, but,
That's confusing.
yeah. This could be an interesting situation, but yes, I normally update the full board. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much again.
Of course, thank you for the opportunity.
All right, the next item on our agenda is consideration of adopting the Charter Township of Garfield Master Plan Resolution 2024-20-T. Mr. Sack.
Yes. So I just wanted to highlight this is the culmination of a process that actually started back in winter of 2022 when there was a joint meeting between the town board and the planning commission. Planning commission started the updating of the master plan in March of 2022. The remainder of that year was just a process of going through, gathering information, data, preparation of maps. There was a community survey that was done for the township. Those results were tabulated and then analyzed. In 2023, after following a joint meeting between the town board and the planning commission again, there was direction to start preparing the actual master plan itself. So a lot of the policy development, some continued discussion with different stakeholders from around the community helped to supplement some of those policies that were developed. And then there was a draft that was established by the Planning Commission towards the end of last year, and then there was the joint meeting earlier this year between the Planning Commission and the Town Board, and when that plan was actually drafted. The plan is actually in two different parts. There's the actual, what we kind of consider the master plan itself, which has only 6 maps in it and is really more focused on the policy, the goals and objectives in the plan. The appendix is something that we've developed, really is more of kind of the static data and information that was collected. It gets the details of the community survey. It's got a lot more maps and information. This stuff kind of really was helpful in developing the plan, but is really only reference information, and we didn't want people to kind of look at this whole thing, and so that's why that's been separated out, so that this will really be the active part of the plan. And so this document did go through the review process as required by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act. There's a 63-day review process that was started and concluded at the end of last month. The Planning Commission did, per the statute, hold a public hearing on June 12th. So that was kind of the last point of getting public input. It was sent to all the neighboring jurisdictions. We did not hear any comments from them. We did make a couple tweaks on the map. One of them was on the future land use map, or it's in the report there, where we changed the designation from a low-density one to industrial. Also, there was just a boundary adjustment that was done on all of the maps related to the township boundaries. But no text changes have been made since the draft that was done back on March 27th of this year. So this is being presented for your consideration. There's the resolution. Really, the resolution pursuant to the statute allows for the Township Board to assert its right to approve or reject the master plan as presented. So this is for your consideration. I did want to also point out, this was all done in-house. And roughly, when we included the cost of doing the survey and some of the other things, came out to roughly about $8,000 in extra cost. Now, obviously, you got full-time staff, but just want to let you know that we pretty much did this all in-house, maps, everything. Did have cooperation from our township engineer in collecting information, so you'll see our water and sewer maps are highlighted in there, thanks to Gordy Frazier. But just want to let you know that, so if you hear of other communities and what the cost of the plans that they've developed, I think we did a pretty good job, so
Yeah,
great
fantastic
support.
job. Great job.
Good work.
The Planning Commission was very good at guiding this process. They really got involved. I think they did a great job in leading this process as well. So, there you go.
Hey.
Would anyone care to make a
I would
motion?
make a motion.
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-20-T, adopting the Charter Township of Garfield Master Plan in accordance with the Michigan Planning Enabling Act.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Are there any questions or comments?
One just quick comment. Just how long is this master plan implemented for, John, roughly before you would review it again?
5 years. And
So I guess my only comment would be, pay attention to the large tracts of land that are ag on the ground right now, and they have the R1 overlay. If we start losing our big tracts of ground to development, we need to still hold on to agricultural. And a lot of our agricultural district that's in green is small tracts of lands with houses on them, which will never go back to agricultural farming. So I would just tell the board to just monitor and watch, because if we start developing all of our fields and turning cornfields and hayfields and that into subdivisions, we really might want to look back at taking some of these larger tracts and putting them into ag so that we can keep that environment alive within our township. I mean, I'm an agricultural guy. We own a big horse ranch, and next to me is big tracts of land that produces hays, and we're orchards. So I guess I would just mention to the board to just watch that. If they start disappearing, maybe save some of these big tracts and put them back to green again and keep them green. Just as a thought.
Any other comments or questions? We have a roll call vote, please.
Augustinelli?
Yes.
Barshad?
Yes.
Schmuckel?
Yes.
McCumber?
Yes.
Dool?
Yes.
McManus, yes. Corn.
Yes.
thank you.
Good job, John.
Yeah, good work.
Yeah,
you and
great
your
work,
team.
John.
It's awesome.
And engineer.
That concludes our unfinished business and new business. Item A is consideration of extending the YMCA lease for 5 years. 5 years ago, we wrote a 5-year contract with a 5-year extension available. And it is not a guaranteed option, but it is one that I feel comfortable with. The YMCA is doing a lot for the community from that building. You know, between the summer camps and the indoor pickleball, and I mean, there are a lot of people there. Yeah.
Did that building, I think 5 years ago, when we were kind of talking about this, the building needed some repairs and different things like that. Did those things happen, and is it in good shape?
Yeah, they put in new steps. The steps were crumbling. They put in a new furnace because they had no choice.
Yeah, yeah.
They have patched up the roof where it was, the insulation was dropping down on the floor. So it is not like a brand-new building, but they're, yeah.
And is it like a $1 contract, like just a contract to cover the
It is a
legality
$1,
of it?
it's a $1 contract, but I've never seen that dollar.
Uh-oh.
No, and that's common, but yeah, I'm in favor of this.
There's a lot of dollars, there's got to be 10 or 15 of
Do
them
you need a
out there.
motion on this?
Sure.
I make a motion that we extend the 5-year lease to YMCA from August 27th, 2024 to August 27th, 2029.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is consideration of a landscaping services RFP. And one of the ARPA projects we've talked about is the Logan's Landing Woodmere medians to get dressed up a little bit. And this would be the first step, is to do a request for proposals. If you're comfortable with the proposal as it's been prepared by Mr. Syke.
Very comfortable.
So Chuck, these areas are us and not the county road commission?
Correct.
They are us, okay.
And it's funny because our little places on Woodmere there always look so well maintained. And farther down where the city is, it's not. It just,
There's that one that's right on the
Yeah.
line that doesn't have anything on it.
It doesn't have nothing in it, and
I don't know if
sometimes
it's
you-
ours, I don't know if it's
you
theirs.
can't
It's
see
right
when
on
you're
the line.
turning, and yeah. So I would make a motion that the landscaping service request for proposal RFP be approved.
Support.
We have a motion and support.
Who supported that?
Are there any questions or comments? Then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Next item is consideration of a professional services agreement with Traverse Connect. We did this a couple years ago. They did a report for us, as well as kept us on their radar and brought some potential projects into the township, worked with us. Went through quite a process trying to figure out what we wanted to do this time, and John and I are comfortable with the studies that we proposed. The community business survey is one that used to be part of the chambers when Tito Write-Up was here, remember? He would visit different businesses in the township and throughout the county, and just ask them how they felt about things and why, if they were thinking about leaving, and why. You know, that kind of a stay interview, they call it. That would be something similar to that. There's a number of things that I think are all valuable to us.
So they're asking for a 3% increase then? 20,600 annually?
After this year is how I took that. Is it?
For future years, yeah.
Yeah, 20,000 for this year and then 3% after
Okay.
that, resulting in the two ones.
I make a motion that the professional services contract between the Township of Garfield and Traverse Connect be approved.
Support.
We have a motion and support to approve the Traverse Connect contract. Chloe?
I just have a question, how they come up with the $20,000? What, do you know? How do they come up with that particular amount? Because to me, it's like hard to justify that value. I feel like we did this with them before, and the reports they provided, I didn't think were worth the value, I think. And the industrial study report that they did, I don't think, I don't know. I don't think it was as useful as we thought it was going to be. So I just don't know how they are justifying the $20,000 value. What do our residents actually get? I know they're gonna do the business study.
Right.
But is it worth $20,000? I don't know. I'm questioning it just because, you can't actually, we're not getting, I don't know. It's not as concrete as I would like what we're actually getting for the $20,000. Plus, I had asked them to write a newsletter article, and they didn't even provide a newsletter article to us. So, and I'm like, to put in resources for our businesses or to give some kind of information, and so I haven't been very impressed, I guess, with what I've received
Right.
from them.
I don't know why they wouldn't have written an article, because they crank out a lot of
Right.
writing.
Well, I said this newsletter goes out to all of our business owners in Garfield Township.
Yeah.
Can you just whip something together? And they never did. But beside that, I feel like they don't come and report to us. They don't, we do get those emails, but I personally don't get a lot out of them. I don't know how everyone else feels, but.
I kind of agree with Chloe. I was wondering where they got the $20,000 from, and what have we actually, other than those 2 reports, have we received from them? Have we gotten any business from them? Have we gotten,
And I
what
was
do we
going to
get?
ask you the same question. Where's the township gain from this, truly?
I think, as I said, the potential for this stay interview with businesses, I think, is important, because they just get up and leave sometimes. And we're not out there every day talking to people. That part, I think, is unique and valuable. They are talking to developers, they're talking to, we've had conversations about how to attract home builders, big home builders, who can come in and do, a large-scale project. And I really don't know how you do that. We'd like it, but I think it's something that they're involved in a number of different things with the county, the city, and the townships in terms of economic development. And it's not, none of it is economic development is an art, not a science. So you have to be there, you have to have your door open, you have to talk to people. It is a source of information, and they communicate. I don't understand why that request for a newspaper or newsletter thing went awry, but
I don't know.
sure.
Well, it is kind of a touchy-feely thing.
Right.
But they do a lot of other things. You have to go out into the community, you have to search those things out. But they do a lot of studies about housing, and they'll put on, meetings about housing where you can have communication with the city people and others. You really have to get out there to get their services, but you're never going to get it in a piece of paper. You're not going to get that. It's just not that kind of a thing.
They can't I was wondering what businesses they've reached out to specifically in Garfield, if they could report back to us who they're connecting with, or something like that, something that's actually, we can see they're doing stuff for, specifically for Garfield, because they do these services no matter what, right? But we're paying them $20,000 to do stuff for Garfield specifically.
I'm just guessing, but the 20,000 is probably a percentage of what, Chuck, do you know that, of what their budget is, and,
I think it is, I think the city is into the tune of over $100,000.
yeah.
The county, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 60,000. I think East Bay is 15,000 a year. So it's not out of the realm of our neighbors. but
So like a report like Chloe's maybe mentioning a little bit, I'm just thinking in my own mind, like, if a developer's looking at Garfield and then changes their mind, why? Land was too much, our restrictions are too steep, what was the reason why they didn't choose us? If a business is leaving Garfield, why?
Right.
Taxes are too high, or they just didn't get the business because of their location, or their little thing or trinket they're making is just fading away. What is the reason? That's the kind of stuff I would be looking for. Why did you leave Garfield, and was it Garfield Township Board stuff that could have prevented you from leaving, or Garfield Township Board stuff that could have aided you to come into our township? That's the kind of stuff I was thinking the Connect was going to be giving us reports of. So if they're meeting with businesses, tell us about what their meeting was. And maybe it's a good meeting. Maybe they say property taxes seem fair, regulations seem good, business is booming. I wish we could have bigger signs for more exposure. Well, that's a planning department thing. So that type of feedback is good.
yeah. I mean, if it's the board's desire to defer a decision on this, and I will go back and let them know your concerns and see if we can get something that's includes more communication, more responses, and better.
I would prefer that. I would prefer us to push this off and find out if they can suffice more of what we're talking about.
I will rescind my motion.
And I will rescind my second if it's the majority of the board and you want more information.
I just want more value, more bang for our buck, you know?
It could be that we're just not asking for them to report on things
Right.
that are your concern.
And maybe
you
we
know
just
what I
need to
mean?
communicate that
More
with them.
greater expectations of them.
Mhm.
Yep. I find it valuable, you know, the industrial survey. I learned a lot of new stuff, but like to your point, is it worth 20,000? I don't know. It's valuable to me. It's information I didn't know. We don't have the time to go get that. They're experts in that area, and they're informing us.
Like our planning, I feel like our planning department and our planning commission could have done that report, you know, better.
Maybe so, or did you reach out to them for information, Traverse Connect, and, you know, talk to Warren and his staff for any purposes, or?
We do not.
Okay.
On a no, I don't.
Okay. I just didn't know if that connection was valuable to you or not, so.
Well, like, the feedback I got from staff was that that report wasn't very helpful, but I could see how it would help you as a board member who's not knowledgeable in it. That makes sense.
Well, is it important for us to be in the mix? Where the people who are sitting around the table are talking about economic development, talking about housing, talking about all of those things, how important is it for Garfield Township to be in that mix? If we don't pay the $20,000, we are not in that mix. So, to me, there's a value to that. Just being at the table, just being in the mix.
That's true.
If you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. And we're
And your concerns
the
aren't
biggest,
heard.
and the cost is not outrageous compared to others that are out there, but I guess everybody's got to evaluate on the board what they think. Yeah,
Guess I would
I think you have to think about it, it's not a hard copy thing. It's something else.
It's not objective.
Right.
Hard to put a number to it.
So I think I have my marching orders. I'll go back to him and
Back and renegotiate.
Yep.
give him another swing at it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The next item is consideration of Westwind's request for a down payment exemption. And the, typically call them lateral fees, but when you have a project where there's costs involved in putting the infrastructure in, we have allowed them to finance it according to our special assessment schedule.
Correct.
And through the Department of Public Works, so they draw up an agreement, and they just collect it, the monthly water bills or sewer bills. And it's always been 20% down. And they were anxious to do it. They've got one building almost finished, another one started. They have a lot of money invested right at this point in time, and they are cash strapped.
So sorry.
So they are.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but
They have been an exceptionally good group to work with. We have had developers who were miserable to work with and always fighting, and they have, from the very first application, they kind of did things right. The planning commission was nodding right away. They've written $1 million checks for benefit fees.
yeah, but they're looking for it for over a 10-year period.
Right. And
Why
right
should
now,
they-
a 10-year T-bill, I think, is 4.16%, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, why,
So it's 2 points above that, so we're getting 6% interest.
well, why should we do it for them and we're not doing it for everybody else?
Because nobody else has invested what they have.
Any problem with setting a precedent? I think maybe that's what you were
Mhm.
saying. Are we setting a precedent by
setting a
doing
precedent for
this?
this, yeah.
Or is there some criteria that if we make the decision to go with this kind of program, so you gotta have this, and you gotta have that, and you gotta put some money in,
Yep.
and you gotta done this and that and the other thing, and then that would take care of that precedent-setting thing for every project that comes down the pike, rather than just have it be well, for these guys, we'll do it, and these guys, we won't.
Yeah, I think there might be some wisdom in that. We can establish some criteria that they obviously meet, like if you've already spent
Yeah, X amount of dollars.
$40,000 or $40 million.
You're
on-
bringing in our tax base, this is how much you're bringing in, those
Right.
kinds of things.
Yeah, so I can't legitimately say that I want to vote on this tonight until we have something in writing that says until there's a precedent shown that they brought so much money in, and then we will do this, because I don't want to start this precedent for one company, and then 1 year down the line, somebody's going to say, well, you did this for West Winds, why can't you do it for me? So I think there's got to be some kind of,
Guidelines.
Maybe a chart or something that shows
yeah,
developmental cost, or total project cost, or sewer water cost, or,
Something to
and
justify.
then a percentage that can be,
something to justify it, because if we just go ahead and say yes to this tonight, somebody next year could come in and say, well, you did it for them, why can't you do it for me? I don't want to do that.
We've said that, yeah.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
how soon would they need to know something on this?
Well, the sooner they know, the sooner they can sign the agreement, and we can start collecting.
So next meeting, maybe we can have just
Yeah.
some criteria
Yep.
to make a judgment on.
I think we can do that. All right, last but not least, under new business is consideration of a check to Beta for the West Wind Village at Lafreniere Woods and Prince of Peace assessments. See, the Village at Lafreniere Woods just completed their Phase 1, and they have plans to start their Phase 2, and the future of that one is in a lower place that requires them hooking up to a pump or a riser for sewer. So they are. Again, they're relieved that it's only going to cost them $179,000 instead of, $500,000, which they originally anticipated. But they're not, they typically pay when they hook up, which is in the future. Ridges wants to finance, whether they finance with 20% down or 0 down, I think they will finance. And Prince of Peace is a church. They will have to pay, but they're, I don't know, it's one of our, my favorite people's projects,
So I have a question.
whose name we will not say. Yes?
Why are we paying it to Beta and not to the Department of Public Works?
Because Beta paid all of the expenses to build.
Well, they paid all of it already?
Yeah. And as I said, it would have been the cost of the project would have been much, much higher. We were figuring somewhere in the range of 1.35 million to 1.575 million. So this total cost, by doing this as one rather than several projects, dropped it down to 873,000. So everybody saved money, and the township has one riser to maintain instead of 4. Yeah.
When will we get reimbursed for this?
We will get reimbursed by Ridges as soon as they sign an agreement. They'll start reimbursing, but they will pay. They said I think it's 2 points above a 10-year T-bill, which is a little over 6%, which it's hard to get 6% money right now. And there is no way that they can, it is their responsibility, they know it. So it'll be paid.
To us?
It'll be
directly?
paid to us. Actually, be paid to the Department of Public Works, who will, they do the collection.
They will reimburse us at that
Yes.
time?
Yep. And then the Village of Lafreniere Woods will be reimbursed for their share when they hook up. And Prince of Peace, they'll want an occupancy permit eventually. And they'll need that. They may finance it as well. But I do believe it is a great return on your money at this point in time.
So we'll collect the interest.
Yes.
So it's going to come from Department of Public Works is going to pay us the interest.
They will, as those payments are made,
Yeah,
they will be sent to us.
yeah.
on a
With
regular
the
basis.
interest.
Yeah.
Well, do you want a motion? A motion?
I would like a motion.
I would make a motion that we send a check to Beta for West Wind, Village at Lafreniere Woods, and Prince of Peace assessments.
In the amount of, is that the 454,000?
Yes.
In the amount of $454,000.
$58.28.
Okay. You need the rest of it to be reimbursed to the township through the Department of Public Works.
That is normal operating procedure.
Okay.
Support.
We have a motion in support. Are there any other questions or comments?
Which fund is this coming out of?
This will be coming out of the sewer fund
Thank you.
and going back into the sewer fund.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Gustinelli?
Yes.
Barsha?
Yes.
McCumber?
Yes.
Dool?
Yes.
Schmuckel?
Yes.
McManus, yes. Corn?
Yes. That concludes our new business. We're back to public comment.
Other business.
And then, since there's no public comment, we will go on to other business.
Happy birthday to Mr. Chuck tomorrow. That's my other business.
Yes, it's my birthday.
Somebody brought to my attention that there was an issue at the Keystone soccer fields where there was an infant having a seizure. And because of the event at the time, an ambulance wasn't easily able to get in there. Because, when there's big events, it's kind of chaotic with traffic and parking and everything. I remember doing some research when I was lieutenant for Garfield that I believe that's a county park. And I believe the county leases it to T-Base for like $1 or something like that. So I always felt like T-Base has the authority to do what they're doing with an agreement with the county. And the county could say, well, you're no longer going to have these big-scale events unless you have an emergency plan that will help mitigate these problems. So it was presented to me like it was a Garfield Township issue, which I don't think it is, and I kind of want your opinion on how you feel about that.
No, it is not a Garfield Township issue, it is a county issue.
Okay. I agree.
And it is, I can tell you that getting in and out of there now is much, much better than it was before they put in the roundabout and the driveway off.
Off of
the other side.
Burnley, yeah, for sure.
So I don't know why it was so difficult for the ambulance to get through there.
I don't know either. I think what I'll do is get back with the person who brought this to my attention and then just have, you know, that person work with T-Bays, the county, and decide if the county wants them to have an emergency plan where they can work with the fire department and police, you know, for these big events, just like the Cherry Festival. You can just change the date on it, you know, so, okay.
Yeah, and talk to MMR too, because I'm sure they'll have something to say.
Yeah, okay.
Any other business to come before the board? All right. And if there are no objections, we'll stand adjourned.